In September of last year, on the Spanish public television program De Corazon, journalist Alberto Guzman said something on air that turned into its own small headline. Talking about Princess Leonor and Infanta Sofia as they headed into a year that would scatter them across 3 different countries, he described what he called, in his own words, the sisters' pact. Not a rumor pulled from an anonymous source. Not a tabloid inference from a photograph. A named journalist, on a national broadcast, describing an actual arrangement the 2 sisters had reportedly made with each other as their lives pulled in opposite directions for the first time in any serious way. So let's talk about what that pact actually is, what's confirmed about it, and why. Underneath the slightly dramatic headline it generated, it's a genuinely revealing window into how these 2 are choosing to hold on to each other while growing into 2 very different, very public roles. Start with the situation that made the pact necessary in the first place, because the timing tells you a lot. By September of 2025, Leonor and Sofia's paths had diverged more sharply than at any previous point in their lives. Sofia was beginning a 4-year international degree in political science and international relations at Forward College, a program that would take her not just to Lisbon for her first year, but eventually to Paris and then Berlin as the coursework rotated her through different campuses. Leonor, meanwhile, was still deep in military training, based at the General Air Academy in San Javier, completing the final stretch of the 3-year formation across the Army, Navy, and Air Force that Royal Decree 173/2023 laid out for her years earlier. 2 sisters, similar in age, raised in the same household, suddenly living in entirely different countries, on entirely different schedules, doing entirely different kinds of work. According to Guzman's reporting, that was exactly the moment they sat down and made an agreement about how to stay close anyway. The terms, as described on air, were specific rather than vague. The sisters reportedly committed to talking every day that their schedules allowed, acknowledging up front that a daily call wouldn't always be realistic given military duty rosters and university coursework, but treating it as the default rather than the exception. On top of that daily contact, they set 2 fixed points in the calendar where they'd make sure to physically reunite regardless of what else was happening. The first was the Princess of Asturias Awards in Oviedo, one of the most significant fixed dates on the entire royal calendar and an event where Leonor, as the honorary institution's namesake, takes center stage. The second was the Christmas holidays, the one stretch of the year when the whole family's schedule tends to align regardless of military postings or academic terms. 2 anchor points, plus daily contact whenever possible, in between. It's worth pausing on why this detail generated coverage at all, because on its face, a pact between sisters to call each other daily and meet up at Christmas isn't exactly explosive material. But it landed the way it did because of what it implicitly confirmed about how differently these 2 are being raised into their roles, and how deliberately they seem to be working against the natural drift that comes with that difference. Leonor's path has been defined by structure, uniforms, chains of command, a fixed and public trajectory toward the throne that leaves very little room for spontaneity. Sofia's path has taken a more international, more academically freeform shape, one that by design exposes her to less institutional scrutiny and more ordinary student life, even while she remains second in line to the throne. Those are genuinely different lives being built for 2 young women who grew up sharing a bedroom hallway. The pact reads, more than anything, like an attempt to keep something that predates all of that institutional shaping fully intact. And the evidence since that September 2025 report suggests the arrangement, or at least the spirit of it, has actually held up, not just as a nice quote for a talk show. This past July, when Sofia made her institutional debut as honorary president of the Fundación Ibercaja in Zaragoza, delivering her first solo institutional remarks, Leonor showed up. It wasn't on the official schedule. Reporting on the event was specific that Leonor's presence in Aragon hadn't been planned in advance, since Sofia's Zaragoza appearance was supposed to be her 3rd solo engagement without her sister present. Leonor came anyway. Coverage of the day described a familiar dynamic between them at the event itself, with Leonor reportedly looking for her sister's eyes before Sofia began speaking, the kind of small, private gesture of reassurance between siblings that has nothing to do with protocol and everything to do with actual closeness. That's not something a press office scripts. It's the kind of detail that only gets reported because someone in the room noticed it happening in real time. There's a broader context here worth naming, because it's part of what makes this specific sibling relationship notable within royal history more broadly. Sibling dynamics among heirs and their younger brothers or sisters have, across various European monarchies and various eras, frequently been marked by distance, rivalry, or the particular strain that comes from one child being destined for a role the other will never hold. That's not a universal rule, but it's common enough that outlets covering the Spanish royal family have explicitly noted Leonor and Sofia as something of an exception to it, describing their bond as one of the more carefully protected and genuinely warm assets of the current royal household, distinct from patterns seen elsewhere. Whether that's a product of deliberate parenting choices by Felipe and Letizia, simple personal chemistry between the two sisters, or some combination of both isn't something that's been laid out in detail in any single account, but the consistency of the reporting, from the September Pact story through this July's surprise appearance in Zaragoza, points towards something durable rather than performed. What the Pact ultimately represents, more than a piece of gossip, is a fairly ordinary and very human response to a genuinely unusual problem. Most sisters growing apart geographically for the first time don't have to contend with military postings, international royal engagements, and a line of succession sitting between them. Leonor and Sofia do, and their solution wasn't to let the institution dictate how close they'd remain. It was to make an explicit agreement, small enough to sound almost mundane when you say it out loud, daily calls when possible, 2 guaranteed reunions a year, and then, based on everything reported since, actually follow through on it. In a family whose personal life is constantly reduced to speculation about romance, scandal, or political consequence, it's a rare piece of coverage about the two of them that's really just about two sisters trying not to lose each other. Thank you for watching. If you found this useful, subscribe for more grounded, sourced coverage of the Spanish royal family, and let us know in the comments what you'd like covered next.